Good evening, small crowd that's here this evening. Uh, I need to call the meeting to order. Um, First thing would be to adopt our agenda as posted.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda as posted.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor of the agenda as posted, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No one? And that means the second thing is to,
So I make a motion to enter executive session regarding the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee per one V.S.A. 313-3A3 to include budget committee applicants.
second, one at a time.
Yes.
Second, we have a motion and a second to enter executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
That's our purpose here at 6 o'clock. What's
Okay, then we're gonna go, I'm gonna pause the video. Has people been letting people in? Looks like it. Yeah, thanks.
I love my hammer. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. We're back. Back from executive session. Before we start, I want to start with the way I've started many meetings in the past, by stating the fact that we are all a group of citizens in Brandon who care about Brandon and the well-being of Brandon. We're all neighbors, and it works a whole lot better when we get along and we don't have personal attacks with people. So let's treat everyone with respect as best we can going forward. If I feel that something's out of line as far as attacking a person, I guess I'm going to have to use my hammer, and I really don't like using my hammer. So here we go. So we're coming out of executive session. We're going to change our order just to announce what we have come to an executive session.
So I make a motion that we accept the following slate for the budget committee. And that's Jan Coolidge, Barry Varian, Gabe McGuigan. Karen, the only reason I was doing this is because I was practicing pronouncing his name. That wasn't an inside thing. I was just making sure I got the name right so people understand what that signal was. Karen Rhodes and Trisha Welch.
I'll second that.
Second. And so I'd like to take the opportunity to make the first discussion after the motion. Thank you all for applying. As you've heard me say at many other meetings, everybody's welcome to come to all of our budget committee meetings and to offer suggestions and to share their points of view. And so everybody's welcome.
And in discussion, I would say that that was a question I asked all of the candidates as to encourage them to stay involved. It's very difficult for the board. I appreciate the effort that the board put into deliberation and going there. We did feel that it was in the best interest to have mixed some new with some old and some experience and look at everything going forward, and that we hope that we have a very positive budget process and that all of the people are involved. So any other comment from any other board member regarding this issue?
That same thing. I hope that
The mic.
if you have input or ideas, please come to a meeting and speak them up there. Or if that's not your cup of tea for whatever reason, feel free to shoot an email to any of us or any of the committee members, whoever you feel most comfortable with. You go for it, and your message can get passed along.
The budget ideas and input is important. And unfortunately, the way the system works at times, that we don't get much input until after everyone's invited to town meeting and the book is already published, and that's the budget that's being voted on the very next day. And so we get all these ideas of making changes, but those changes are kind of too late. So the sooner people give us ideas or comments, every select board member can be reached by email. I think every select board member would encourage even receiving a phone call if someone wanted to chat. So I think that's important. That being said, we have a motion and a second on the establishment of the budget committee. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So we have a budget committee. That being said, if I can say, we were planning on maybe having our first conceptual budget meeting on September 16th, probably 7 p.m. here in this room. Would we have the big room? Would we have the big room by then?
The library does not believe so.
Okay. It would be nice if we had the bigger room, and I guess I will leave it that it's here in this room or this building. And if there's enough stuff out of the way and we can sit in there, we will. We can't wait to get that back. And then I know there's going to be some work done on the room. The meetings will last 2 hours. We will start at 7 p.m. and we will go home at 9 p.m. no matter where we are at that meeting, and then move on to the next meeting. And at that meeting, we will set other meeting dates.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
the town office staff who takes care of tracking the various appointed officials has asked for clarification from the select board regarding the terms. So I had it in the agenda here that this would end at the voter approval of the FY26 budget, but that was just a suggestion. You could have it end at any point that you wanted to, or you could do something else entirely, but she just would like some clarification.
How does the board feel?
I would love to make a motion that we need a motion, yeah. I make a motion that the budget committee appointments last until this 2026 budget is passed. Hopefully that means March.
Second.
Okay, so it's a one year term or term to the budget.
A little less.
Right. Okay. Discussion.
Good idea.
Okay, we have no other discussion. All in favor of that motion that they will go until the budget is approved, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed is no one. Okay, now we are up to something called reoccurring matters, which is first the approval of the accessibility modification grant hearing minutes that were in our packet.
I make a motion that we accept the grant hearing minutes.
We have a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additions, changes, corrections? None heard. All in favor of approving those minutes, please say aye. Aye.
I abstain,
You abstain. Okay.
just because I wasn't there.
Okay. Second is the select board minutes from the August 12th meeting.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the August 12th select board meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any additions, corrections, changes? None heard. All in favor of approval of the minutes, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No one abstained. And third, we get into paying our bills.
So I'm always happy to make the warrant, especially when it's so small. So I make a motion that we accept the warrant for $69,906.05.
I second that.
Motion and a second. Questions on the warrant? None heard. Questions from the public on the warrant? Don't imagine. None heard. All in favor of paying the bills, please say aye.
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 Opposed? No one? Hearing matters are over. Town manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did want to just highlight a few items from the report that was published with the board packet. Firstly, we do have we have 3 different grant applications that were initiated in the last couple of weeks. One is for a buyout in the Newton Road neighborhood for a homeowner. One is the initial application. One is for floodplain restoration in the area of Union Street and Pearl Street, adjacent to the Otter Creek. That's the parts that we would often be closing in the springtime on a yearly basis. And the third grant is working with Rutland Regional Planning Commission to delineate a neighborhood development area, basically surrounding the designated downtown, and they've listed off some benefits there of Brandon having a neighborhood development area around its downtown. They relate to responsible land use. Also highlighting in the packet, and I think timely due to the appointment of this budget committee, I have been working with town finance staff regarding the news that the Green Mountain Care Board has approved a 23% increase in the health insurance premium for the plan that we currently subscribe to. We have determined that the town is not eligible for Cigna health insurance, and our options appear to be limited to Blue Cross and MVP. The actual rates are expected to be available late in September. This increase would represent a stressor on the FY26 budget on the order of $80,000. I will also say I did reach out to Rutland Regional Planning Commission on this and asked them to consider using a not very frequently used option called a multi-town service agreement to see whether RRPC might be willing to basically become like a clearinghouse for all of the towns in the county that wanted to participate to buy their health insurance in the larger group, which could either have the effect of making us eligible for the large group rather than the small group rate at Blue Cross or MVP, or it could be enough to allow us to qualify for Cigna coverage. And RRPC wrote back, and they're actually happy to explore the idea. They're not aware of any other regional planning commissions in Vermont that are doing it, but they believe that it's within their statutory authorities. So they're going to explore that and get back to us. For the public, if any Brandon resident is interested in public transit, the Marble Valley Regional Transit District, the bus, is seeking a Brandon representative. Their regular meetings are monthly on the second Tuesday at 9 a.m. And if you just go to thebus.com and look under meeting material, there's some background stuff you could read. I provided the select board an update this evening based on some stuff that happened over the weekend. So I gave the financial update that normally appears in the published report. We're at 16.7% through the budgeted expenses for FY25, and we are at 16.7% through the year. So that's approximately on track. The unrestricted fund balance has not changed. The town treasurer and the bookkeeper will be making all of the end of the fiscal year kind of accounting adjustments still. The local option tax fund has grown through the vote of the board on August 12th. Basically saying that the $100,000 that the board had reserved for paving really only needs to be $35,000. So that's increased the 1% fund $65,000 to $326,173. Delinquent property taxes are virtually unchanged. Delinquent wastewater has gone up because another bill went out. And then a couple of other notes. I attended a couple of events in Brandon this weekend. Want to congratulate Barn Opera. On Saturday, they hosted our community's chance to be part of the Play Every Town free concert project of UVM music professor and pianist David Feuertzig. Brandon's Josh Collier and Eve Baglarian were featured artists, and Brandon's Trisha Welch and Russ McColeman were key event organizers. Our concert was number 64 in his series. He's attempting to play 252 concerts through Vermont, one in every town. Then on Sunday afternoon, I went with another of my daughters to the rec department and Brandon Museum jointly hosted a pretty challenging but really thoughtful and sensitively portrayed examination of eugenics in Vermont. That was at the town hall on Sunday afternoon. The story of Ivor Devno featured many familiar names and places and represents an important telling of a compelling story of adversity and human rights in our community. This morning, I spoke with our Highway Division Chief, Jeremy DeSorda. He has met with the winning bidder for the sidewalk work, and his recommendation is that the additional funds that are available be used on West Seminary Street to reconstruct the sidewalk basically on the west side of West Seminary Street from Neshabie House down toward the center of town. Neshabie House does have a number of people who use wheelchairs and so forth, and it's common, Bill will tell you, it's common for us to just have our eyes caught out the back window of the town office by someone in a wheelchair driving down the middle of the road because the sidewalk's not suitable right now. So that's the suggested place to make up the amount that the select board authorized.
Great.
I think that's a really thoughtful idea. I've seen the same thing.
And there's enough money to do the whole section?
Well, that was what he was meeting with him about, what to find out. He believes from Neshabie House down definitely, and was hopeful that there might be some additional work further up
Yeah.
available.
There's just that wooded patch.
That's my report, Mr. Chair.
Questions from the board for the town manager? We were gonna get some sort of update, was it the next meeting probably as to local options commitment to be headed towards Union Street? Is that what we talked about? In 2 weeks?
Well, I think a Union Street update in general about the project, is that what you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, because when we look at this, it looks like we have all kinds of money in our 1% fund, but we also have a gigantic expense coming on the sidewalks that we want to do on Union Street, both
Right.
sides. So
Right.
that's, just want that clear to the public that that's where that money is being kind of saved for at this moment.
So can I ask, what is the status of the wastewater treatment plant, project?
The upgrade to the actual facility is completed.
That's good.
Yep. And so it's kind of paperwork and bookkeeping after that. They are related to that project. They've taken some action that was recommended by the Energy Committee and others. So they have, it was part of my report. They have cleaned out the 2-bay garage with both crews from highway and wastewater, so that that will remain a heated storage space for stuff that cannot be allowed to freeze. And they're reorganizing equipment and supplies to discontinue heating the 4-bay garage.
Brilliant.
That will be cold storage. And in conjunction with that, there's a lot of scrap material that was either accumulated or generated during the upgrade of the plant. And so they're bringing that to scrap dealers, and there will be something realized from that. There's a couple of pedestrian-ish bridges, which all of you have been down there, and you remember there were some catwalk kind of structures that went over some of the workrooms. So there's 2 of those that might be best not scrapped, but sold as, a functional piece.
Thanks.
Does that look like that's on budget? The sewer upgrade, is that gonna be on budget or over?
I will say it's over.
It's over?
Yeah.
Any,
So I
Rough number?
think it will not be over the amount that the voters fully authorized at the bond vote. It'll be within that, but it will be over what was initially the construction estimate. So I think it's at $5.8 million is the total cost.
What was originally budgeted?
They had expected, I think, $5.3 million. The town had authorized, I think, up to $6 million
Okay.
to borrow.
So it's just the higher end of the, not just.
There were expectations that, I guess when you do a project like this on a facility like this, there will be things that you open up that haven't been opened up for quite some time, and you either kind of get to keep what you have, or you realize what you have is either deficient or is to become deficient soon enough that you should replace it.
Okay.
Any additional questions of the town manager?
No.
Questions from the public on the town manager's report? Moving on. Rec director's report.
So you notice I don't have a printed report. I was off last week at a staycation of emptying out my upstairs to do some work. It was fantastic. So just a brief report. All of our fall registrations are populating the website. We have some interesting things planned for October. I think it's a little too early to talk about some things around the holiday, including the reactivation of the movie theater screen. At the for just one weekend, because it's much too costly. At the last select board meeting, Selectman Coolidge asked about some questions. There's one question I didn't have an answer for, additional costs related to the installation of the water fountain, the park fountains at the dog park as well as Cemetery Hill. I priced out approximately, and this is an estimate until we get into the ground, it's $171 for 300 feet of PEX. We've got about 270 feet to get both fountain spaces, and about $200 in Sackcrete concrete. And since the last meeting, a lot of people reach out in support of the park. There has been some more donations made to the dog park fund. In fact, one made just tonight even, and total donations towards the cost of the fountain that again with shipping was $3,600 is $3,492 of funds on hand to pay for that part of it.
So the cost to the town for the fountain is now going to be about $400 of materials and $100 of fountain.
It will be less than that because there are more people donating money, and I think there's we have a fundraiser plan for October, and there are people as they become more aware of this project wanting to donate money, and I think there's even an effort at an upcoming event where people are going to be collecting donations for that. So.
I will chime in on that and say that I was in the meeting with Bill today, and in our liquor control, we have a beer garden event coming up, and I plan, along with my wife, to be at the beer garden of the entire time of the beer garden, accepting donations to our park. Not dog park, park, kid park, playground park, basketball park, not just water fountains, not just dogs, but to the benefit of the park and any improvements, and to answer any questions that anyone may have for me regarding the way I see the park being. So if any other select board members, I know I'm springing that on you. If anybody else wants to sit there with me on the Saturday, feel free to come down.
Tough ask to go to the beer
I plan on
garden.
having, I plan on having my puppy with me who will bite everyone that's in there. So,
that sounds like a liability issue. VLCT will be calling us.
So, but I do think that, having looked at it, you know, there's more than just, water fountains in the park that we discussed. There's a very nice setup up there for children and parents to be able to take their children to enjoy the park, and for kids to be off the streets in town, and grandparents taking grandchildren, and I'm impressed. And I think we need to do more of the good. So that's my own thing. Questions for the rec department? Folks from the
Yeah, thank you for that. Does the other landowner, does he have insurance, or I'm concerned about liability up there. Does the landowner that owns part of that, does he have liability insurance, or is it all us?
It's all us. I mean, I don't have COI on file for us, but as we've unfortunately discovered in past dealings with our insurance company, that if somebody gets hurt, they're always going to go after the largest pockets, and ours are the largest. I think, again, maybe some members of the select board were part of the town got sued over something, and again, it wasn't our property, yet we ended up paying a significant amount of money.
Thank you.
Other questions to the rec? Questions to the rec director on his report from the public?
The water slide day was fantastic. Sliding out of summer. It was a little chilly, but I don't think the kids noticed. They just were purple with goosebumps.
No other questions have been heard, so I'm going to move on. Item 6 was for us to say about the appointments of the budget committee, and so we kind of already did that, but I'm going to throw in that we did put the date out, and so that the public and the people on the committee are somewhat prepared. The first meeting, we will have a generic discussion about where we are in our services of public service, which is the highway department, and our town management. That will be the emphasis of conceptual discussion without numbers, just talking about where we are, what we like, And if there's things that we feel we should add to services or subtract from services or any vision down the road. And that will help us then get to assigning dollars and cents into it. Afterwards, we're starting almost a month and a half earlier than we did last year, so that we will have time to do these kind of discussions. So that's what that will be about. Item 7 on our agenda is public comment. Whoops, sorry. Yes.
Before the actual first meeting of parking numbers with the conflict of the committee members to have a copy of the budget, we kind of already have a one.
Correct. What my intent is, and seeing it's on the board chair, I guess I get to throw my weight around a little bit. So it's going to be, meeting 1 will be on the public service and management, which management would be town clerk and Seth telling us what, how things are going and what's going on. And we can discuss all that and go forward. The second meeting will be on the next 2, which would be police department and rec department. And we will have conceptual conversations again without money. After we've had those kind of discussions, I'm throwing the ball back to the town manager and his finance crew, Jackie and department heads, to then do the first pass of the spreadsheet. So that spreadsheet will come to all of us in advance of the 3rd meeting, and that's when we will kind of start looking at dollars and cents. It's my vision, and I'll admit I am changing things from the way they've been, and you can all let me know what you think. But it's my vision that we kind of look at where we're at and what we have as a vision for the town of Brandon before we start assigning numbers to things. Then we look at numbers and we see if any of those visions are realistic or unrealistic or where they are. How do we see our town going? And then we start massaging those numbers as we go forward. Everyone will get spreadsheets in their email and have plenty of time to look at them and then come and have discussions with us. Does that make sense? A little? Okay. Moving on. Public comment. Always a fun part of the meeting. Public comment for items not on the agenda. Yes.
The microphone. is
Oh, I need you to
closing.
talk in the mic because people
Sorry.
can't hear you. I'm sorry. I don't.
Otherwise, we get a ton of messages saying that they can't hear you.
Now, you were talking about the agenda of spending on wish lists opposed to what money
Yep.
that you have.
Right.
Now, suppose you have a wish list over here, but you don't have the money. Is it just going to be is it just going to be put in the budget and
No, that's what the whole process is for. Is the wish list may, well, let's say the wish list will help us generate a capital list of capital expenses that we want to work towards saving. One of the items that has been mentioned in the past is that we have to do something at the highway garage. So what is the wish list? What do we do? How do we work towards that number? Is it bondable? Is it whatever? And everything would then be kind of filtered through that when we're talking about roads. How much paving do we have to do? How do we do it? Whatever. So it's not just saying like, oh, here's a wish. Now let's fund it.
well, we've seen that before where the wishes just
But
get
I'm
granted.
telling you that again, stay involved, come to any of the meetings. Everyone is not going to agree on everything. I am 100% sure. But we have to look at what is affordable, what the town can achieve, what the taxpayers can do. If there's other ways of getting to something that's on a wish list, either by a bond or a loan or a grant, so it's kind of opening up the avenue.
But see, this
How we
wish
do it.
list isn't achievable. Is it going to be slithered under something else so you can get it?
Can't be, no, no. I mean, the idea is to be realistic in what we are thinking that we need and want, and separating needs from wants. And doing it that way.
Mr. Chairman.
I also
Okay.
encourage you that if you have that concern, please be involved from the get-go, because it's really difficult when we get to the end to have feedback that's then, it's a much bigger project to take it into consideration then. And it's my intention to take a lot of feedback into consideration, but the sooner the better.
If we can't afford something, we can't do it. So that's, realistically what it comes down to. But it's not It's why I want to discuss what the possibilities are or the needs may be without throwing dollars and cents to it, because we may not even get to a point where we could even think of that. So it just gives us a structure point and really a better look at where we are at this point right now and what we see going forward. So, yes, Neil.
Is it possible? Because you had a large group of candidates for the Budget Advisory Committee, is it possible to make available the documents that will go to the Budget Advisory Committee or the other people who are interested?
I believe it is. Mr. Hopkins?
All of the meeting materials will be published on the town website in advance of the meeting.
Like our select board.
Okay, I want to move on to public comment for items. Whoop. Go
Public
ahead.
comment?
Is this number 8? I mean, I'm sorry, I think this number is.
We were getting to number 7, public
yeah.
comment. Do you have public comment or do you want to talk on the budget? And then we are at number 7 and you are first if you would like to come to the microphone.
Thank you. I didn't mean to jump the gun. I'm Representative Stephanie Jerome. Just wanted to let everyone know that I am still working on constituent outreach. And although the session, the veto session at the end of June had ended, and I am, so I guess I just want to reiterate that I'm still out there. I'm still working for our constituents. In fact, today I was working on a really exciting project, and I hope it can go somewhere on cell towers. So where there's a big dark spot in Forestdale, and one of the nice things about being at the polls all day earlier this month was to have people come out and I was obviously easily have access to me, and so that was a really important piece of information that, although I knew that it was tough to make a cell phone call there, I didn't realize exactly how really difficult it has been for the people who live in that end of Brandon and along Route 53. So between that and working to meet all our new educators and the new talking with the some of the issues of hiring that we have in the state, I'm working to see what I can do to help some of our professional regulations along with our guidance counselors and things like that, where maybe we can ease up a little bit a few things that maybe could make some professionals able to apply for jobs within our schools system. So anyway, just want to put that out there that I'm still there. I'm still working for you, and I'm working on some exciting projects. So thank you.
Do you have a date, time, or location for your next outreach that you would want to?
You know what? I will schedule it and put it out there. But at any time, I do my constituent coffee hours. It's been a little tough having this closed and the library not open, because I do like working. I do like meeting at the library. But I will put it out there. But in the meantime, if anyone has any concerns, just feel free to call me or email me. I think you'll have my contact information.
Thank you
Okay,
very
thanks.
much. Public comment.
Hello, I'm Dorothea Langevin. I've been living in Brandon for 1 3/4 years. Love the town. I am not a citizen. I'm here on a green card, which means I can work here and I can pay taxes. I am not allowed to vote, nor am I given the privilege to hold an office, which is the deal. So part of, I guess, my standing up tonight is I've been participating in most of the select board meetings over my time here, because having been raised in Germany, it's a very different understanding of democracy. And so first of all, kudos to you all coming here and doing this work. This is not automatic. And I can tell you, I come from a democracy that considers itself to offer some freedom more than other countries experience. What I want to share with you is there was a lot of conversation about listening and freedom and being able to communicate and make plans together. My paternal grandmother grew up in a town in Germany that had a large Jewish population. Her friends and family were friends with those neighbors. And a good part of them were picked up in the middle of the night by the Nazi regime, never to be heard of again. And she was inconsolable. These were her friends, and she wanted to talk about this and make it known that this was not right. And her husband told her that if she was not going to calm down and hold her breath, her 6 children and them would be next. So what I would like to just point out that you have a birthright to speak and to be heard. And what a community to practice that. So practice it, and thank you for doing so.
Other public comment? Please.
I am Wendy Field, and I just would like to thank our board for the work that you do. I know it always isn't easy, and I apologize that I don't say thank you more often. Anytime I have reached out with a question or suggestion, Bill, Seth, you have responded, quickly, and it has been always very easy to communicate and work with you. And I appreciate all that you do. And I've lived in this town for 40 years. I'm not a native Vermonter, but I have been here a long time. I've taught school here for 40 years, and our town just gets better and better. And there are so many opportunities for families and, old people, young people. Some I take advantage of, some aren't my thing, so I don't. And that's fine. But there's always something for everything here. And I just would like to say that I just so appreciate everything that you do. So thank you.
Thank you. Others? Yes, please come up.
Mine is more of a public question. I left here feeling very confused after the last select board meeting. I think it's great that the people in town are going to raise money to put fountains up on Seminary Hill in the park. Then there was some discussion about the town purchasing the dog park and a comment made about turning it into parking. So I'm wondering what's going on with that.
Can I field that, Mr. Chair? Vicky? So the town has not moved forward. There was an offer made by the landowner, as you'd reported to the select before I even had a chance to report to the select board. An offer made to the town to purchase the park or the area of the park everyone thought was part of the town's park until created the dog park. People realized it wasn't a part of the town's park. So that offer's been made. Nothing's been done with regard to saying that's something we want to do or not. We've left open the possibility. But I mean, that's still something that's in discussions. And if we were to even move forward with it, the select board would need to say yes. We need to help us identify funds to make it happen and a plan for it. And the thing about parking, and I want to make sure everyone's perfectly clear, and in that 2-hour long meeting, I don't think it was clear. There was no plan whatsoever to demolish the parks, turn it all into parking. When I talked about parking, I talked about the fact that the owner, the current owner now, had asked about the possibility of parallel parking on East Seminary into the side of the hill, not creating a parking lot. So that's where we talked about parking, because people park on West Seminary and East Seminary. There's no parking because it's just grass up against the side of the fence. And so he talked about the possibility of parallel parking spots along the road there. That was the only thing that had to do with parking. If I were able to convince the select board to fund this, convince people this was a great idea, the thought would be to have it remain a dog park with green space at the top of the dog park with parking along either side of West Seminary and East Seminary.
So it wouldn't infringe upon the usable area now for dog.
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
And my understanding is that the agenda item number 8 is an executive session to discuss that land.
Thank you.
Other public comment? None heard. I am now going to call for a recess of the select board so that we can do the liquor control. And then we would be going into executive session on the select board before adjourning. So do we have motion to move to recess at this point?
Do we need a motion?
Don't even need.
Don't need a motion.
We are now going to go to the.
gavel. Has to use the gavel.
I hate.
You don't put it on this side, I'll do it.
I hate it. Okay, yeah, that should be an assigned duty of the vice chair. We are going to now open the Brandon Select Board Liquor Control for meeting. I need to have someone adopt or approve the agenda.
I make a motion that we adopt the agenda as written.
Second. A second.
Okay, all in favor of the agenda, say aye.
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 Opposed, no one. Call the room to order, please.
Just need
be
to-
quiet. First is the approval of the minutes of the last liquor control meeting from August 12th.
Make a motion to approve those.
Second,
Second.
okay, all in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item 3,
I make a motion that we approve the 3 permits on our agenda.
we have a second.
Second.
A motion to approve all 3 agenda items. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment on liquor commission. Never is any on that. Motion to adjourn?
Yes, motion to adjourn.
Liquor committee, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no one. Now there'll be a short 5 or 10 minute
I need
recess.
to make the motion first.
Nick?
I make a motion that we enter executive session under the rule 1 V.S.A. 313A2 for negotiating or securing real estate purchases or lease option.
We have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor of entering executive session, please say aye.
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 Okay, I'm going to pause the recording.
Pause recording, 5 minute recess.
Okay, we're in.
We are back from executive session at what time?
9:41.
9:41.
And then the result of our executive session was we are encouraging, we're authorizing Bill to apply for a grant from the state of Vermont for $12,500, which will be used towards the purchase of the remaining land by the dog park. And that's the result.
That is a result of executive session. Motion to adjourn the select board meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye, aye, aye.
Aye.